Hello, friends. It's Monday again. I recorded a podcast last Monday, and I ended up not posting it because I was still editing it the next day, like fiddling around with all the different things you can do in production on Riverside. And by the time I got finished with that, so many things had hit the news that I felt like the stuff I said on Monday was naive. So like by midweek last week, I was always like, gosh, keep dreaming, Leslea from Monday. And now it's a week later, and I've spoken to many of my friends who are, scattered far and wide. Some of them are incredibly bright people who I could only aspire to be as smart as, people who really contribute to their work and their projects, which are in the best interest of the United States. Some of the people I've spoken to are artists, creative people who we need to make the world a better place, frankly. Pretty much everybody I spoke to is someone who cares about others, gives charity, and everybody is just lost. We're all lost. Nobody knows what to do. Everybody is trying to put plans together just in case, like contingency plans. Things are just happening so quickly. And Tim and I were just talking about how all through our lives we look back at World War II and pre-World War II Germany and just wondered why nobody took Hitler down. Like, why didn't they stop him? And we can see that going on right now. There's so many people in this country very vocally supporting the illegal acts that are taking place, and it is frightening. It's frightening that people who you grew up with, people you went to school with, people maybe you went to prom with, they're Nazi supporters. It is absolutely flabbergasting. And I know that they are being fed a certain kind of information that paints, the Republican leadership in a very positive light. But the sad truth is that a lot of these people are very ignorant and they don't understand what the proper channels are for actually certifying things correct or incorrect. There are so many professional organizations and people who have used years and years of their lives contributing to frameworks that make checks and balances, specifically auditing. I was a federal auditor. I didn't go into my job and send money willy-nilly to people. It was my job to go in and make sure that the money that, in my specific case, the dairy farmers were sending in was being applied correctly, that they were paying their fair share, because the dairy farmers don't mind paying their fair share. They'll do it. And that, milk prices were being regulated so that they could make a living, have a life, provide milk to the people of the United States. There was there's no political machinations going on. If anything was political, it was, the people who know the most about milk get to run the milk department, whoop-de-doo. But it wasn't like, we're going to bring in somebody from another country and they're going to drain the bank accounts. Before that, I was an auditor. I was an auditor at a public accounting firm, more than one. And you go in, you look at the documents critically. You look at them with skepticism. You look at them with certain tools and ratios and best practices and industry standards. You don't just go in there and go, I question your decision to pay for this or that, because that's not the role of the auditor. the role of the auditor to look and make sure the budget's being applied correctly, that there are no like slush funds and lies going on in the books. And generally, that allows you to come back to the shareholders, the stakeholders, the board of directors, the public, and say, this is what's going on. You don't just send some foreign national into a corporation with a bunch of Nazi hackers and download all their files and walk away. It's like data rape is going on, and financial rape of us as taxpayers. People like to talk about the corruption. Oh, there's corruption on both sides. There's, Democrats and Republicans, they've all been paid off for years, and that's true. We don't have the best system in this country. We could do it better. We could be like some countries in Europe where they have, 8 different parties, and elections take quite a bit longer. You really get to think about what people, what the platform they're running on, instead of just choosing Team Red or Team Blue. The bottom line is, the people who vote in this country, which isn't everybody, but the people who vote, they vote their representatives into office. Their representatives make the laws, and yeah, their representatives have been bribed. They've been corrupted. All of them, on both sides. But the answer to that isn't to get more corruption in there. The answer is to get professionals who know what the hell they're talking about, who know what they're doing, not failed CEOs that get fired from things and run around putting their abbreviation for the swastika on everything they can touch. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I think the answer is or what I think the solution is. I will tell you what matters. If you're a federal employee, you've probably recently joined the union if you weren't already a part of it. The American Federation of Government Employees is at a record high membership count. And there's about 800,000 federal employees, and they don't take very well to some stranger who has never been a part of our country's government walking into their agency and telling them what to do. They don't take it because, I can tell you again, from working for the USDA, we are mandated by Congress to do X, Y, and Z. Stranger comes to your door and say, let me in, I'm going to take all your computer records. It's never been a part of it. So, it's really sticky because 20 years ago, when I worked for the USDA, we were not even allowed to have a sticker on our car that had like a presidential candidate on it. You could not show any support. You had to be completely impartial as a representative of the USDA and of the whole federal government. Federal employees just aren't allowed to do that stuff. And it makes me wonder now, what happened along the way? Because if people are letting them in, that means they're being complicit. There's a lot of just nobody's following the rules. And it sounds naive to say, us rule followers, we're going to save the day. Maybe the rules that matter right now are the rules of the jungle. In which case, as a civilized person who wants to make the world a better place for the children and generations to come, how do you do that? How do you do that within kill or be killed? A friend of mine said this week that he didn't expect the United States to last another 20 years. And it's really stuck with me. I think he might be right. And I don't know what that means for us. My mind's completely blown. I would tell you that I am glad that we established dual citizenship with the country in the European Union, and we may have to fuck off. What to have to fuck off? This is my home. But my home doesn't feel like my home anymore. America doesn't feel like America anymore. And it makes me sick, and it makes me sad. What was the point of reading and getting an education and trying? And we're all just going to hand it over to the richest guy on the block and say, here you go, Your Highness, it's all yours. I don't know. I realize that this has been a little bit of a depressing message from yours truly, but I've been really sad. I'm glad that all my friends are in good shape right now, but I'm really sad because nobody knows what's happening, and that nobody can live in that kind of insecurity. If you're watching this and you're one of those people who doesn't agree with me politically, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if somebody hurts you somewhere. I'm sorry if you feel afraid of taking care of one another and billionaires paying their share. I'm sorry if you're being fed a different stream of information than you probably presume I am. I'm not a news watcher. I am a researcher, and there's always so many things being thrown at us. It's more than anybody can possibly research. But I do look into things a little bit at a time. And if you've known me for a long time, you know I'm not fucking dumb. You don't have to agree with me. But I'm right. And you know, you don't have to admit you're wrong. Just admit you were lied to. And once you admit that truth, everything else will fall into place. Free your mind and your ass will follow.